Ever wonder if there's intelligent life elsewhere in the universe? Well, I have. I've been wondering since I was a kid. My name is Reuben Langdon, and on March 29th, 2007, in the middle of the day, I saw a number of strange objects in the sky. Coincidentally, I was working on the film Avatar at the time, playing an alien. And ever since then, I've been on a quest. A quest to find out if aliens really do exist, and if so, are they here, with us? If beings of higher intelligence are here, what is their purpose? Why don't they make themselves more known? Why the secrecy? I've asked these questions to many experts, yet each seems to have a different theory. So I thought to myself, why not ask the aliens directly? So that's what I set out to do. Well, sort of.
Greetings. This is the Pleiadian Collective as always.
Excellent.
It's wonderful to have the opportunity to link up with you in this way. And we'll give you back Nora if you need her again.
This is a good transition.
In a moment.
Perfect, thank you.
But this is a big part of what's happening on your world as you integrate your higher selves, meaning your fifth dimensional identity. So that's the way we put it. That's the story we're telling right now, that all of you are in that process of breathing into your chakra systems, the fullness of your beingness as your higher selves. As you do that, then your higher selves begin to rewrite your genetic codes, and they overwrite those programs that tell you you're enslaved. You then access your sovereign state, and this is how all your systems on your world are going to change. It's not a matter of going in and fixing what appears to be broken.
Right.
We would say let all that breakage fall away. Let all of those systems that have become inoperable, that you're all still trying to operate, let them fall away and allow the higher selves to help you all birth into your reality higher vibrational versions of all of those systems. Education, government, transportation, fuel, on and on and on and on. So we're speaking in a very third dimensional way now. And as you integrate and reascend and move into a higher interpretation of this reality, you're still going to run some of those systems. They're just going to look very different.
So in a way, the same way we're breathing in, reprogramming the DNA, reprogram the entire world with the new this new higher self energy. So the world would be channeling the higher self in a way?
Yes, and Earth is doing exactly the same. You are doing this in tandem with Earth.
I see.
And the most important work any of you can do is your own internal work. Because the outside is the reflection of the inner.
Right.
So as you alter internally, you will pull that external reflection to you. You will run more in tandem with the process Earth is going through itself. And a lot of you get distracted by what's happening around you, what's happening on the planet. You think, I've got to go into this system and figure out a new way.
Right.
We would say, well, that's wonderful that you have a desire to figure out a new way. That truly is wonderful, that you have a desire to figure out a new way. But first, go within and feel that new way within your own body.
It's not so much outside of ourselves. Everybody needs to kind of do their own work. And then things will naturally fall into place without even having to do the work, so to say?
Yes, this is the Pleiadian answer, yes. There's a natural evolution that occurs. And truly, it's not even really breathing in the energies of your higher selves, because you already are your higher selves. You already are. It's recognizing the truth of that. So sometimes you will use the illusion of, I'm going to breathe in the energies of my higher self to help yourself understand. This goes back to labels and categorizing, you see. So this helps your third dimensional mind, mental body. The mental body begins to accept the idea of breathing in the energy of the higher self, because the third dimensional mental body sees the higher self as above. So the mental body would think, so I've got to breathe it in to be able to integrate, but the truth is you already are your higher self. So you start to access more and more the energies of your higher self in your entire chakra system, especially the lower chakras. A lot of you have a very easy time now accessing the energies of your higher self in your upper chakra systems. This is why your thinking has changed. This is why a lot of you are beginning to report more paranormal and metaphysical kinds of experiences, why you're able to easily communicate about it, and why you're connecting more in a heart-centered way with one another. The reason your physical reality has not yet really shifted to show all of that work to you is because a lot of you haven't done that integration work in your lower chakras. So a lot of you are running what we would call kind of a third, fifth dimensional split in your experience, where your higher self is operating the upper chakras, your ego self or your third dimensional self is operating your lower chakras, and you're not able to effectively co-create in a fifth dimensional way yet. Now that's fine. We don't see that as problematic. We simply see that as it is right now. But in giving you this, that helps you all remember, well, I can open up to the energies that exist in my lower chakras that are of a fifth dimensional vibration and above.
Would that be one of the reasons why right now we have such polarities going on the planet, as far as what's going on in the Middle East and our own government, and then at the same time you have amazing discoveries, and it feels like there's so much innovation happening at a super increased rate. You watch TED Talks, or I like to look at the other side of the newspaper, not the front page, but the back side, and you're seeing organic, sustainable farming, and restaurants popping up that are really all about taking care of the environment, and then you have the other extremes. Is that part of the reflection of what's going on, because we're in two different chakras, or not two different, but
two different operating systems. Yes, two different operating systems. Yes, that's part of it. Part of it is, okay, you've got two different operating systems running your reality right now. The other part of it is the trauma yet to be dealt with. Every single one of you have trauma relating to experiences you had in this incarnation and experiences you've had in every incarnation. Every incarnation you've ever had, you're in the process of accessing trauma from those lifetimes and clearing it. So when you go to your trauma, the trauma itself causes you then to play out what appears to be lower vibrational situations of violence, aggression. It's all rooted in trauma. It's really important for y'all to get that, to stop vilifying anyone on your planet right now and stop choosing sides. Because as soon as you choose a side in any conflict, you become part of that conflict, even in your ideology. If you sit in your thoughts and you think, all right, we'll use what's happening in Gaza right now. This may not be relevant when this airs, but right now it is. If you say, all right, Israel's bad in this situation and Palestine is good, you're
feeding it.
Absolutely. So instead, you've got to say, I'm going to recognize all the players as universal beings of love and light.
Yeah, I've noticed that with people asking me, well, what religion are you? And they're all, what political party are you? And I've noticed just myself now consciously just not taking part. It exists. I'm not denying it, but I get.
Yes, and divide and conquer is part of the enslavement meme.
Yeah.
So you begin to rewrite your programming there, and you can start transcending the need to choose a side, choose a group.
Right.
Those groups were created in part when you talk about religion or government, and you have your different parties or your different versions, created in part because you all were feeling so isolated, separate, and alone. So you banded together in these groups to feel a deeper connection to God, because your understanding was God is an energy outside of me. So let's band together and at least be in our separation from God together. So now as you're experiencing yourselves as source energy, Well, you don't need those groups any longer.
Right.
They're not your identity. They're not your safety. They're not going to save you. They're not going to do any of those things you believed in. Sometimes believed to the extent where you would act it out as truth. So it's not that it wasn't true in those lifetimes. It always was.
Right.
It's just no longer the reality you're playing in.
So scientists have said, even more recently, there's more evidence supporting that we live in a holographic universe. And I wanted to get the Pleiadians' input on this, because if we are truly living in a holographic universe, and we talk about kind of God or source or this oneness that we're all part of, is this universe, how is it a holographic universe, and how is it truly an illusion, like our scientists are even finding out? I'm sure through the Pleiadian evolutionary cycle they found similar things.
So what we'll say to you about that, this is the 12th dimensional Pleiadians here, is yes, it's all an illusion. We're an illusion.
Right.
We are no more real than you are. You are no more real than we are. However, your desire to have an experience, source's desire to have an experience,
right,
creates the illusion of reality that becomes real. So it doesn't really matter that this is all a holographic experience. And in fact, what we're seeing is that piece of information at times is being used to empower you, and then it's also being used to disempower you.
Okay.
So it's very important that you look at when it is you're still being manipulated by those agencies outside of you that want you to feel small, separate, unimportant, insignificant. Because that's how some of you interpret it when you hear that you're just a holographic projection of light, which you are. You hear just,
right,
instead of amazing holographic projection of light, allowing itself to imagine it is in third dimensional density, having a real experience, which you are. Yes. Source energy itself transcends that entire holographic experience and understanding. So all of universes, all of creation is holographic in its nature.
So, obviously the Pleiadian energy, Pleiadians are aware of this. Is there a time when I'm assuming humanity's going to have to, all of humanity's going to come to this realization, and then is it like you just described it? We all know it, we all are aware of it, and we still choose to play the game? Or?
It will be a part of your integration and reascension experience. And as you fully integrate this truth, that you are in a virtual reality here, which is a reality as well, that simply allows you more access to do more with your reality.
Having that information.
Yes, because then you really get, I'm just making it up as I go along. I really have integrated that now. That allows you then to begin making up bigger and different and brighter realities for yourself, and that's what the fifth dimensionals have access to. That's what the fairy realm is like. They understand themselves to be physical projections of light. Right. They completely have integrated that truth. So they play in the physical, they play in the light body form, they play in both at once, or they play it out individually and have a lot of fun in that expression of energy. That's where you're headed.
Yeah, I keep hearing that we are headed towards, in the evolutionary step, we're heading to the fifth. I don't hear so much about the fourth. What happened to the fourth?
There's such a huge difference in vibration between the experience of the third dimension and the experience of the fifth. That you all needed the entirety of a dimension, the fourth dimension, to operate as a bridge to bring your consciousness from the third to the fifth. So you are currently inhabiting a fourth dimensional experience. You are already operating as fourth dimensional beings. When you come to understand it's a transitory state to get you to the fifth.
Okay, so it is there, because I
It's here.
We're here. We're in it.
You're in it.
Okay.
You're also able to access full-on fifth dimensional experiences right now.
I see.
So the fourth dimension is allowing you to transcend the limitations of time and space that you've been using for eons here in the third dimension.
I see.
So it's why a lot of you or all of you are having different experiences with time now than you were a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, time felt pretty linear to all of you. Now, when you try to access an event that happened in what you're calling your past, you often can't tell if it was a day ago, a month ago, 3 years ago, because you're operating outside of the bounds of linear time. That's what the fourth dimension gives you.
Oh, okay. So fourth dimension, I was going to ask you, do these other dimensions have concepts of time, or do you just surpass time at all?
You have a concept of time still in the fifth and sixth dimensions, yes, but you don't have a concept of linear time.
Okay.
You use time instead to mark events, moments, experiences, and then you jump from moment to moment, experience to experience using time. It's really how you're operating right now, just your third dimensional mental body doesn't let you see that's how you're operating right now. Now, often you will perceive that you live your lifetimes in a linear experience. So you'll say to yourself, oh, my past lives, you call them past lives because you believe they happened at a date that existed prior to this current date. The truth is you're living all of those lives concurrently. You have many lifetimes experiences you're living in what you would call future moments in time. Just take a breath as you're processing that piece, right? We want all of you listening to take a breath on that piece, because when you begin to access this truth, that all of your energy is incarnate on all of these timelines right now, and that's the way we like to frame it. These are timelines that are occurring, separate experiences. You begin to see the multidimensional nature of reality. Suddenly you're here, 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 here. You're in all of these places at once, having experiences, being male, being female, being strong, being weak, being a victim, being a villain, being a hero, heroine, on and on and on, being an earthling, being a Pleiadian, being a third dimensional, being a 10th dimensional. Right, you're all of it right now. As you're integrating your higher self and reascending into the fifth, you're beginning to gain all of the data that's stored from all of those experiences that are currently happening. You're also, as you're gaining access to those experiences, able to alter those experiences. So you're not just integrating your higher selves right now and reascending in this moment. Every version of you that has ever existed is also integrating its higher self and reascending. You're in the process of creating a new universe. Well, you could only do that as a hologram.
Right. Which I was going to ask. So basically, we're changing time. If we were to go back in time right now and see the past lives, as opposed to if we went back in time yesterday and saw those past lives, it would be a different experience?
That's correct, yes. And because you have altered your consciousness since yesterday, you wouldn't recognize the difference. That other, what you would have accessed yesterday, no longer exists.
Right.
So that's happening for all of you right now.
Right.
You used to tell a particular story about your past.
Right.
You now tell different stories about your past, but you don't know that you're telling a different story about your past.
Right.
Because you no longer are the version of you that was telling the other story about your past. Yes.
So basically, when you get into that,
this is Nora laughing here. Sometimes I just have to break out.
You have to, because it gets to the point where anything is possible, and it's just light.
Yes.
And it's just in that case, it's just a hologram that is just being repurposed to serve our purpose, right? So where we're at in the moment.
Yes, this is the Pleiadians here. We want to talk about, again, this word hologram, because every time you hear it, you're all going to get triggered right now.
Yeah.
Because what you see is, I'm a physical body, I'm real.
Right, yeah, I can pinch myself and it hurts.
Exactly, right.
Oh, I'm awake.
This means somehow then I have more value than that projection of light that scientists created. That's how you perceive holograms right now. Your
Like
experience with them only has been in a lab or on in
we go
film
to
or
the
TV.
movies,
Exactly. Yes, and you say, well, that's not real.
Right.
The actor is real. The hologram is fake. It's made up by the scientist. All right, you're not real. You're made up by your higher self, which is made up by your oversoul, which is made up by source energy. And then suddenly, yes, you're as real as you can be. So when you see yourselves as holographic, you must see yourselves as also as an expression of source energy. Universal beings of love and light here playing with other universal beings of love and light.
Right.
Then it doesn't matter what you call yourselves or what you are. And a lot of that can be a big head game. And science can be very intellectual, as you know, and often discounts the emotional body in its findings and discoveries. And that leaves out a big chunk of information.
Because then you're just talking about the physical light energy of the hologram and not the other energies that go along with it.
Not the consciousness attached.
Right, which may not be visually there, but it's there.
Exactly.
Okay, I see.
As music is there.
Right.
When you listen to music, it's not visually there, but it's there. You're present with it.
And no movie's good, complete without its soundtrack.
Yes.
So, I don't know. I guess that... So
that's Nora laughing again. So I'm just sharing my process with you. So when I say this is how it's very easy for me now to go from Nora to the Pleiadians back and forth. It didn't used to be this way for me.
Well, it's good you can observe and laugh at the conversation at the appropriate times.
Yes, I get to. I feel happy that I get to do that. I didn't used to do it. Initially, when I channeled in the beginning for many years, I had my eyes closed.
Right.
Nora was very in the background, and they were very center, and it took a lot of my energy to bring that information through, partly because collective humanity and Earth's vibration in tandem were in a much lower place. So I had to work really, really hard to access those higher vibrations. Now, collectively, we're in such a high space together. It's so easy to connect.
So does that mean there's hope for humanity? That we will all be able to access this at some point? When
This is Yeshua. Greetings. We greet you with love and joy and honor the being of light that you are. Humanity has already reascended. It's already occurred. You are just making your way to that moment that you have already co-created. When you say, then there's hope for humanity, what you're expressing there, Reuben, and we'll talk directly to you, is at times the sorrow you feel when you look at the current reality and conditions. It is extremely important that all of you give yourselves permission to access those feelings of sadness, sorrow, grief, loss, but to not get stuck in them. We want you to feel the reality around you. Then we want you to run the experience of compassion and unconditional love for all who choose to be in that kind of experience, and then go back to your internal work.
Yes, will do. Thank you. Yeah. Wow, thank you. I got thrown off for a minute there.
Yeah, well, the Yeshua, this is Nora, the Yeshua, it's very different from the Pleiadian, yes. When I channel the Yeshua energy, I feel as if that transmission's coming directly through my heart center. Even though my mouth is moving in the word, it feels to me, the Pleiadians is more of my chakras seem to be involved with the Pleiadians.
Right.
With Yeshua, it's this...
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's assuring. It's good to know, and I feel it too. I feel definitely that every time I have a vision of the future, I see Star Trek.
Yes.
So there's a spaceship flying around and having these cool experiences. I don't see the apocalyptic.
Yes.
At one time I did see this, the dark Terminator or this
Mad Max.
Mad Max kind of apocalyptic future, and I'm like, oh, we're all doomed. But I can't even go watch those movies or do that kind of thing, zombie movies anymore. It doesn't resonate. I can't even sit through another zombie movie probably ever again.
This is the Pleiadians here, and actually, when you watch something like Star Trek or Star Wars, what you're really looking at in a lot of ways are records of galactic history. Those are experiences you all have had, because those are all very third-dimensional experiences. Right. What you're taking yourselves to in a fifth-dimensional reality looks nothing like that. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because that was my question was, what is the fifth dimension? I mean, if you have beings who I know can, once you, getting back to the reality thing, the whole illusion, once you wake up from the illusion and once you're able to create instantly, as described in a fifth dimensional process, are beings in that dimension that can kind of imagine it and there it is, much like a dream state.
Greetings, this is Calliandra. I'm Calliandra. I'm fifth dimensional fairy. We, in the fifth dimension, are currently transitioning into sixth dimensional form. So as you reascend here, we go there. So we're going to answer your question, and yes, it's very much like what you depicted there as you were dreaming and imagining about it yourself, Reuben. We create, delete, create, delete, create, delete. It's not like Star Trek.
Okay.
In Star Trek...
That's 3D.
Yes, you get in a ship to get to another place, or you use technology to allow you to teleport. You have to use something physical to alter your physical experience. In the fifth dimension, we fire up our fifth dimensional chakra systems to take us to where it is we want to go, to move us from here to there, to manifest at will. We also know ourselves to be light bodies who can use a physical expression. You do not fully know yourselves to be that on planet Earth. You know it intellectually. Intellectually, you understand my physical body is a projection of my light body, but you don't know it yet in your lower chakras. Because if you had integrated that in your lower chakras, you would be altering your reality at will as we are. And that is fifth dimensional reality. So
some of these masters of like Qigong, or these people who defy physics, are they more in the fifth dimensional frequency?
They are accessing those fifth dimensional abilities because of a deeper integration process in the lower chakras, yes. Also because they have worked diligently at unplugging from their third dimensional mental bodies. And that's a big preventer for you as well. So you've got these two things going on. You've got the integration experience going into your lower chakras, your higher self more fully inhabiting chakras 1, 2, and 3. Then you've got the third dimensional mental body filtering out. So you've got to come through your heart center. So Qigong master will completely operate from the heart as the center. The mind no longer exists in that moment, and that allows him to access his fifth dimensional identity within chakras 1, 2, and 3 that allow him to alter physical reality in a way that it looks like you can't as third dimensional beings. Right. Yes.
Define the physics that we kind of think is real.
What Nora was receiving there, we want to give this to you, is our transmission is even more difficult for her to receive today than it was a couple of years ago, because you are nearing our vibration, which means it's a vibrational telepathic match, which is very unfamiliar to all of you on your world. Right, this is Nora. So we're accessing our telepathic abilities, and we're all telepathic. I mean, whether we're conscious of it or not, we're constantly receiving that input from the people in the world around us, and we've spent a lot of time tuning it out. So we're starting to, as we release those filters in our mental body, be able to have that telepathic connection with those around us. So what Calliandra is explaining to me is it's becoming that way with the fifth dimensionals, meaning our third dimensional minds are getting in the way of fifth dimensional telepathic transmissions right now, because the third dimensional mind is recognizing it as a vibration that's very similar to our own, so it's wanting to filter it out in a way that it's not filtering out the higher vibrational information.
Oh, I see. I kind of see. I mean,
I kind of see as well.
Yeah.
See, this is a new piece of information to me, but it's something I've been wondering about because over the last year or so, I have noticed that Calliandra's energy feels denser and denser to me, harder for me to access, and I had wondered why that was. So.
No, I can see that. So I was wondering about other beings who, let's get back to Star Trek. So
I'm a huge Star Trek fan, so I'm happy to get back to Star Trek.
And I think it gives a place of context for
Yes.
people to relate to, because everybody knows Star Trek, and I'm a big fan of it as well. But the beings who are on a physical third dimension, based on my experience and research and all the stuff that's been going on, some of the beings from the Zeta reticuli tend to be more of a third dimensional vibration, in the sense that they're actually they're on ships, they're taking us, they're doing stuff. They also seem to be very highly telepathic, and also still more evolved, because they're able to jump dimensions and travel through these interdimensionally. So if you have the abilities to travel interdimensionally, doesn't necessarily make you a fifth dimensional being.
That's correct.
Okay.
This is the Pleiadians here.
Right.
That's correct. No.
So a third
what
dimension.
you've done is you've accessed fourth and fifth dimensional technologies in an external way. What you're all doing is accessing those technologies internally. You're altering your operating systems. So on Atlantis, you had two factions. You had the group of you who wanted to access those operating systems internally and believed that was the right way. And then you had the group of you that wanted to access those technologies in external systems, and they believed that was the right way. And the polarity in the belief split the male and female energy down the middle and destroyed the continent. That's a very simplified explanation of what happened on Atlantis. There were many other things that came into play there. But that's what you're talking about there. So the Zetas mastered the laws of third dimensional physics a long time ago and transcended them into playing with the laws of fourth and fifth dimensional physics. Their intellect expanded in part because they shut off their emotional bodies. So the Zetas became a group of species who began to value the intellectual experience and understanding of reality, which allowed them to go much farther in their
third dimensional
mental understanding, and then they could use their third dimensional minds to create vehicles and technology that would allow them to do these things that you cannot. What they lost was the ability to procreate. What they lost was the ability to run compassion, empathy, or have any kind of emotional connection. As they lost the ability to procreate, it became necessary for them to begin cloning their species. So that's what they did for quite a time. And then their species began to die off, because you can only copy something so many times before it breaks down. So then the agreement was reached with many of you on planet Earth to begin the hybridization program to help the Zetas repopulate their species, but they knew it was going to be a different version of the Zeta. And now what's occurred recently, just over the last decade or so, is many of the Zetas have begun to switch on their emotional bodies again in reaction to interacting with all of the Earthlings, but also interacting with the hybrids. It's become necessary for the Zetas as a whole to switch on their emotional bodies to be able to interact with their children. And as they've done that, they've come to a deeper understanding of what looks like, and we say looks like, the damage they caused here on Earth, here with those who have experienced what they refer to as abductions. Now, truly, nobody was ever abducted, because anybody who got aboard a ship, whether they were paralyzed and taken aboard or willingly went aboard, on some level said, yes, I'd like to have that experience before incarnating their higher self, signed them up, in part because they perceived the Zetas to be family, meaning that higher self also had experiences as Zeta. But more often than not, those of you who had the experience on Earth, or we'll say many of you at least, experienced it in a negative connotation and are still playing out some trauma from those experiences.
That definitely fills in a lot of holes for me with questions in regard to the Zetas. So one of the reasons why I've always wondered why they haven't, if they're in the third dimension, why haven't they been able to advance to the fourth or fifth, or maybe they're kind of in the middle. So just to kind of reiterate, technologically they can jump through wormholes and do all this stuff because they've advanced intellectually, but spiritually they haven't been able to go into the light being bodies because they lack some of the programs.
Because they shut down their emotional experience.
Okay.
So the integration process is an extremely emotional process.
I see. And we as humans have a more range there, so we're able to, if we choose to jump the intellectual stage and go past Star Trek into a new realm of more of...
You've not seen it in your films or on TV. You've not yet seen it. Perhaps at times there have been depictions of fairies, not little winged beings, full-on fairy beings that can hold a human projection but then also hold light body form. There have been some of that. You've seen some of it even in your Star Trek series. Nora is giving us this information, so this is also how we work. If there are pieces that we need filled in to help you all better understand, we'll data mine through Nora's memory banks and pull out particular pieces. So there have been, perhaps not in Stargate, something else, Stargate TV show, examples of higher dimensional beings interacting with third dimensional beings, and you've seen those kinds of beings, those light beings, and what they're capable of. So you have seen that expression of energy, but not the majority of your sci-fi. The majority of your sci-fi is still couching it in a third dimensional experience.
And so getting back to the Zetas, they because a lot of times they're working with other species. The labels we give them are Nordics or maybe even the Pleiadians.
Yes.
So intellectually, they know they're lacking this emotional thing. So that's why the whole hybridization program kind of.
This is the Pleiadians, and also for a long time they didn't care because they didn't have an emotional body to care.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
And there was a benefit because in using their mental bodies as they did, and so we've got to talk about law of attraction here for you to really understand this, all of you. So in the third dimension, you use law of attraction to manifest your realities. When you're running an emotional body, it's your emotions that bring your reality to you, not your minds.
Okay.
So you can think and affirm all you want. I am rich, I am rich, I am rich.
Right, but without the emotional content.
Yes.
Makes sense.
So your emotional body is always going to take you back to exactly, it's going to show you exactly how you feel in your world.
I always wondered that because when I was little, my parents used to punish me and make me write affirmations, and on a paper, right? I will not, do something if I did something bad. And I used to cheat, and I would just write, I. No emotional content. I was just writing letters.
Yes, and it's just an exercise in writing, really, at that point, and giving you a timeout and giving you a chore. So for all of you on Earth, you're using your emotional bodies as the fuel to manifest your realities, and it greatly often has slowed down what it is your mental bodies have wanted to experience, and that's the reality you're in, and you enjoy it. You enjoy using your emotions to attract. The Zetas realized if they wanted to really have those higher dimensional experiences, they were going to have to shut off their emotional bodies to run law of attraction based clearly on their mental bodies. So the Zetas are different from you in this way, or at least different from you in this way as well, in that they're still running law of attraction, but their mental bodies are running the show.
Mm-hmm.
You're using law of attraction here in the third dimension, and your emotional bodies are running the show. Now, in the fifth dimension, Calliandra and her pack, so to speak, all of those fifth dimensionals, they don't manifest using emotion. They manifest using vibration and frequency.
Okay.
They use their light body, their energetic body, to instantaneously manifest. That's the direction you're headed. What you are bringing to the fifth dimension is an emotional understanding of the manifestation process.
I see. That hasn't existed in the fifth dimension?
That's correct.
Oh, interesting.
The fifth dimension, in many respects, is quite a mess. Because when you can create and delete at will with no consequence, because you know yourself to be,
it's just going to happen.
Exactly.
Until
you can blow up and recreate and blow up and recreate, and that's gotten very old and tired and has spun out a lot of karmic realities that now need to be cleaned up. So as you all bring to the fifth dimension this compassion and empathy, which you have finally honed with your emotional experience in the third, you're not just going to create and delete at will because you can. Well, we like to say to you on planet Earth, just because you can, it doesn't mean it's for your highest good to do so.
Right.
And you get that on planet Earth.
Yeah.
The fifth dimensionals don't get it. They don't understand for my highest good.
Interesting.
Because they don't have that emotional context. It's not that they don't have emotions.
Okay.
All right? They still feel. But they don't use their emotions to manifest. They will have a feeling about what it is they created or what it is they destroyed.
Okay.
But then because they can redo it, it doesn't really sink in, in the way that it does for all of you.
Interesting. Wow, can't wait to get to the fifth dimension. Bring in the emotion. So when, for example, Calliandra is moving into the sixth dimension, and I'm sure they're bringing in a whole set of new skill set that didn't exist in that sixth dimension before, just as if we're bringing in the emotional set. What is it they're bringing, or is that just way beyond our comprehension at this point?
I'm so glad you asked that question because, yes, this is Nora here. I have tried to access specific details about the sixth dimension, and I've not been able to. I can access specific details about the 12th dimension, the 9th, 10th, 11th, 7th. The 6th is a mystery to me. This is the Pleiadians, and we'll leave it at that for now.
Right.
It's information that would distract you right now.
Sure. Understood. Yeah, that's what I thought. I probably thought even if you, we had it, it's probably not even going to come. You know, we were not, our monkey minds can't figure that out.
You knew it as you asked the question. You knew the answer.
Yeah, yeah. So, but it's cool to be different. I mean, to have like. It's like, I feel like, human race, bringing in the emotion, fifth dimension, we're doing something.
This is the Pleiadians, yes. It helps you to understand your value. It helps you to really see yourselves at the center of this universal shift, and it is an entire universal shift that's underway.
Is it just Earth that's part of this third, fifth dimensional process, or are there other planets in
It's just Earth that's having this specific experience right now of a collective species and a planet itself integrating and reascending at once. However, as you do that, you offer that information and technology then to all else in the universe. Then it becomes a universal game, and it has become a universal game.
Right. Okay. So that's kind of puts us on the universal map, so
to
say. So
you're the greatest show right now in the universe, and it's why you've got so many lights in your sky.
Interesting. And I've heard this from many different areas, but the Earth is, I'm assumed, kind of under a quarantine right now for other energies, negative energies, and that would want to.
The quarantine was lifted.
Oh, okay. Oh, and what does that mean exactly?
And what's occurring now is the quarantine was lifted back around at some point in 2012.
Could you explain both what the quarantine is?
All right, so the quarantine allowed you all to have your experience in a somewhat private manner.
Okay.
So it's not that all other ETs in the universe were prevented from accessing you.
So this is like the Star Trek Prime Directive.
Yes.
Where the free will and not...
Exactly.
Not
so their observing could occur.
Right.
And then those who are intrinsically, karmically interconnected with you could interact. So the Pleiadians, the Zetas, the Lyrians, on and on.
Beings that help make up our genetic makeup.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And or that with the hybridization program, yes. Right. But the Zetas are really your ancestors as well. They're in your DNA as well. So yes, they were allowed direct access because of the karmic relationships. We could not fulfill our karmic experience, so we're speaking for all Pleiadian life right now when we say we on any dimension, without being able to interact with the Earthlings. Anyone outside of those auspices were not allowed direct access, but there was still the ability to observe. So it's not like you were hidden from view.
Sure.
You were always there, but most of the universe forgot in a lot of ways that you existed for a long time because they were not allowed direct access. So what was the point of knowing Earth existed? So when the quarantine was lifted, it's not like a big announcement was made across the universe. No trumpet sounded saying Earth is open for business. It was very quietly released.
Oh, okay. And this was just a few years ago?
Yes. Okay. So you're having more and more lights in your sky now because that information has been made available. Okay, we can interact. But most of the beings who desire to interact with you or are thinking about having an interaction don't want to disrupt.
Right.
So it's why you're having lights in the sky, but not too many experiences on the ground.
Because if they were to interact, wouldn't it alter the whole process?
Yes, and it would generate a tremendous amount of fear. This is Nora. I always, I want to talk about that personally because, I hear that piece and I know it to be true.
Yeah.
And then I also think, oh, come on, really?
Yeah, I know.
Right?
That was the exact same thing I was thinking too.
Right.
I was like, come on, I've been in this. But at the same time,
Well, I don't know if I've shared my Calliandra story with you, but I was sitting on the couch one night watching TV, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a portal rip open over my dining room table. Okay, I don't mean saw it in my mind's eye. I mean, like a zipper, light was it unzipped and opened above my dining room table, and Calliandra stepped through in full physical light body form. She was about 10 feet tall, and I became paralyzed with fear.
Wow.
I was on the couch going, holy, and Calliandra is a being that I know and love and have channeled, but her physical presence sent so much fear through my central nervous system that I believe the Pleiadians when they say it would generate too much fear. Yeah. Maybe my emotional body and my mental body could handle it, but my physical body could not handle right now a bunch of ships landing and ET getting off.
Yes, our U.S. government can't, with sending fighter jets over everything that could possibly show up in the sky, seems to not be able to handle that right now either. So
yes, and of course there are those select few, and we're going to say select few, who are fully aware of the truth of ET interactions, and those numbers are much smaller than most of you can imagine.
Yeah.
Most of you think once you're in the government, you're in. We would say no, not at all, not hardly at all. Look at how desperate most of your politicians act. Yeah. That desperation right there lets you know they're not in.
No, absolutely. I produced the Citizens Hearing on Disclosure last year, and we actually talked straight to Congress members and had, former Congress members, but they clearly stated that they were, in a lot of that stuff, they're not in the need to know.
Yes.
And so is the president. So,
we were just going to say that. Obama, your current president, does not know what others know. Yeah. That's right.
And it seems as the presidents go, less and less information is being revealed.
We would agree. Well, at this point, they're really being used, your presidents and your figureheads, to manipulate and divide. They're being used as puppets. Yeah. We know a lot of you feel intense disappointment at times in what your current president has done, no matter which side of the party you're on.
Sure.
And we want to say, he's not there really anymore to do anything.
Yeah. No, and that's an unfortunate reality, but it's just time for those systems, like you mentioned
yes,
earlier, to
and
collapse.
again, this is where you can either distract yourself and feel frustrated and afraid and powerless, or you can go to your own internal operating system, integrate your higher self more deeply, begin to operate as a sovereign universal being of light right now in your own lives. Right now in your own lives. And this is the time now to begin to back up with physical action that which you have integrated mentally, emotionally, and energetically. This is the time.
Yeah, it seems to be the message that I keep coming back to every day through my everyday interactions with life, through government, through all this stuff. It's about really claiming that power of who we are and not being part of this illusion that we're enslaved, have to do this and that and work and all this stuff.
This is Nora here. So, we're still operating with a system of money. So for me, I'll use my own personal experience. I'm still working, I put that in quotation marks, but I'm channeling all the time and doing healing work. That's my work. And even throughout the course of my work as a healer, things have changed. So, when I started channeling, I was waitressing tables, and I had been acting. So I acted in Chicago and directed, and I really thought that was my path, that I was going to be an actress. And then I established contact with my guide, Mirando, when I was 29, and that transmission of love was so intense and powerful that it took me in a completely different direction in opening up my heart and accessing my own higher self and all the other beings that I work with. And I thought, okay, I'll still act, and also I'll get this experience. But while acting, I was running a lot of survival issues. I was constantly accessing my own feelings about rejection and not being good enough and body issues, and constantly looking for work. The survival issues,
That's the number one job of the actor is finding the job.
Yeah, even while you're in a job, you are aware that you're going to have to, at some point, find another job. And often, and that was really wearing on me. And at some point, Mirando, my guide, said to me, you're not just channeling for you and your friends. You're channeling because this is what you came here to do. This is what you're going to do. And hearing that, even I said, no, I'm not, no, I'm not. No, thank you.
Well, that was a lot of no's there.
A lot of lifetimes of being burnt as a witch and dragged through the streets of Scotland by my hair, tortured, raped, and murdered, and, on and on. But then also just, I didn't mind being weird or different. It was never that. In fact, I like being weird and different, so that was always fine by me. It was the idea of interacting with so many people on such an intimate level, I think, was overwhelming to me. I was young. I was 30 at the time as I was receiving that information. And then the restaurant I'd worked at for 10 years closed. And they called us all in. They said, we're closing. And my guide said, okay, time now to go be you. And I said, nope. And I went and worked in another restaurant for 2 weeks, and I couldn't tolerate it in my body. So that was my first step in freeing myself when it comes to my survival issues. My body could no longer tolerate being in that particular system of enslavement. So I decided, okay, I'm going to serve in this way. And I worked for others initially. I worked at metaphysical bookstores. I worked at private parties. I worked for anyone I could work for. I didn't really see myself as working for myself. So I'd taken myself out of doing something I didn't really want to be doing and working for somebody else to doing what I wanted to be doing, but still working for myself. And then I continued to receive nudges and guidance. Okay, time to quit the bookstores and just do private sessions. Really? No, I don't have the money to do that. Do it, and you'll have the money to do that. So I was constantly running this kind of test subject experience on myself when it comes to manifestation and creating my reality, of giving myself the experience I wanted to have before I really had the money to have that experience. And as I've done that over the years and continued to change and shift and alter again and again and again, and my work has, where I work, how I work, how many days a week I work, and it's still work. Yes, I'm still in the system of work,
Sure.
but I am also aware of my own evolutionary process here, and I know I will, and we all on Earth will get to the point where we no longer perceive that what we do is work,
Right.
because it's supporting us. It will simply be what we do, how we exist, how we interact, and we will feel supported, nurtured, and loved, and manifest the truth of that. This is the Pleiadians, and that's really what you're already doing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something else. Money really has been very useful for all of you. It's allowed you to exist on linear time. Mm-hmm. Because if you were manifesting instantaneously your desires without the need for money. So if you could say, I want a meal, there's a meal. I want to be in Mexico, I'm in Mexico.
Right.
You're transcending the laws of time and space. You can't do that. So you put
That's
money in place.
fifth-dimensional
Yes.
stuff,
You put money in place to help keep you on that linear line of time where you're plodding along, making the money to have what you want, working to pay your bills. That's all very much in alignment with linear time. So as you transcend linear time completely, you're going to transcend this system of money.
Is what comes first, transition of time or transition of
We
money?
would say both happen at the same time.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I've taken this look at it or approach or view is that nature in itself there's a place for everything. You know, the birds eat the insects, the insects eat the plants, you know, and it trickles down, and there's this whole kind of place for everything within nature. And I've always told other people that human nature too,
Yes.
nature has a way of, you know, creating the right proportion of males and females on the planet. Nature has a way of giving us the direction and knowledge and intention, and when it comes to jobs, we'll all be just right, so we're all doing exactly what we love to do and still live in perfect harmony without money.
Yes.
If we just have to listen to our natural nature.
Yes, this is the Pleiadians here, and that's how you'll evolve into the third dimension in that format, as you're also continuing to integrate and reascend to the fifth dimension, where money really is of serves no purpose whatsoever, other than you might decide to create some because you want to throw some money around just to have the experience, literally, of throwing, as Nora Calliandra is showing me. Calliandra's like, I can make money. She just made all this money, so I clairvoyantly saw her make all this money and then just throw it like confetti. Like, to her, that's the purpose of money. It's paper to throw around.
Excellent. Well, one just before we close, I'm having I understand we're evolving into a fifth dimension. Now, is this something, and I'm sure people watching this too, is this something that is going to be taken over time, or is this something that...
Now, we can't tell you when the finish line is, because there are so many probabilities in this moment. Right. So some of you may experience this during this physical incarnation, some of you may not, none of you may, all of you may, we don't know. And it doesn't matter. Okay.
No, I get it.
But we understand the question, because
it's
and we'll say this, you will experience it, of course. Mm-hmm. Because if you're incarnate here right now, having this experience, you can bet if you don't finish it out in this incarnation, you're going to jump right back in and continue on. And you won't jump back in where you came in this incarnation. You'll jump right back in right where you left off.
Okay. And I guess that was the question, is because sometimes from the sounds of it, it sounds like, are we just going to zap into another reality from this? Is this reality going to stop existing?
Eventually, it's going to feel that way, yes. And just like we said earlier, then you will be a new version of you. Mm-hmm. You'll no longer be able to reference this as your past.
Mm. Okay, interesting.
You'll experience it perhaps as a quote-unquote past life. But within the incarnational cycle, if you do it while incarnate, which all of you will when you do it, you will see it as two separate, completely versions of yourself, reality, because there is that tipping point, that moment where suddenly you are a fifth dimensional.
Mm-hmm. I see. And in that state, we're more aware, like just now, people are becoming more aware of their past lives and having these experiences, as we move up the evolutionary chain of dimensions or evolution, will we, obviously we're going to have access to that knowledge, but will we actually be able to, I guess, what I'm trying to say is maybe live multiple lives at the same time? Can we go...
You'll know that you're living multiple lives.
Okay.
You already are living multiple
Sure.
lives at the same
Yeah,
time.
that's-
You'll have the consciousness to support that knowledge.
Okay.
Yes.
Without it frying our brains.
Yes, because you won't have the same brain
Right.
you have right now.
Oh,
Yes.
Right. We'll have like a light brain or something.
Yes. You'll just be consciousness, understanding all of its experience.
All the
Yes.
experiences. Interesting. Okay. Well, thank you very much. This has been a very honorable conversation, and to all the beings that came through and spent time with us today. And a special thanks to you, Nora, for offering this experience.
This is the Pleiadians here. We'll speak for all who participated. We love you. We love you, Reuben. And we love all of you listening. And this is Nora. Yes, I love you, Reuben. I do. I'm very grateful to you. Thank you for having me on and offering me this opportunity. And I love all of you listening as well.
Excellent. Thank you.